So we're going to start by chanting a small short supplication to Manjushri. Lama dang po jesu jampe yan la cha tse lo kange lo zhi jib ji jin cha ni ta nam da rab za we ji nye dung gu ji jin zi jin yi gi tu ga le bam zin kan da zi pe zhi rar ma ri mun tum du nga ji zi we Rozo kula buji tarze yen la zhu zhu yan den su. Ru tar che do nyun mo ni lo le ki cha do. Ru zi ji ma ri mun ze du nga nyu gu. Ni nye zhu ze ra ji nam. Döne daljin zacı tarzı yönden luzo yazı tübe bu Çuda çudan cüni yence dağlı müzel campe yanladı Omara patsana de 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 Omara patsana de 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 Omara pasana di 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 di. Omara pasana di zede jeki jerab zegi davleti mumun parabzal 가단 텐즈 슌루 또바이 로즈 뽀페 나와 차두소 간제 타와르드 밤 춘세 지와르드 나양 옴보 잠얀 제니니 예메 빠르얀 토와르쇼. Okay. Welcome again to our class. So if there's any questions at any point, please feel free to either raise your hand or you can just ask me. I don't mind being interrupted. I just want to make sure we get the concepts right. So first of all, I wanted to speak a little bit about the history of the script that we're going to learn. Originally, the king Songtsen Gampo, he's one of the first kings. I don't think he was the first, but he's one of the first kings in Tibet who became a Buddhist. And then he realized that the Tibetans didn't really have a script to write down the Dharma. So he gathered some of his smartest Tibetan young people he had around, and then he sent a few to India to learn the Indian languages at the time, not just Sanskrit. I think there were a few languages. So one of the survivors, because most of them actually died, I think the only survivor or one of the survivors, his name is Tonmi Sambota. So Tonmi Sambota is the one who developed the Tibetan writing system. So basically, it's a copy of one of the popular scripts at the time, which I don't think is used so much anymore, but is also, all these scripts are based on what is nowadays called Devanagari, or is the same script that they used to write now, modern Hindi and Nepali and Sanskrit also. So the way that we're going to learn how the syllables are arranged in Tibetan, and if we were to learn Sanskrit, is very, very similar. Basically, the Tibetans took, or in this case, Tonmi Sambota took he took the structure of the way that the Sanskrit language and these Indian languages were structured in terms of the anatomy of the mouth, and placed it over the Tibetan words. So in terms of the etymology of the words, Tibetan and Sanskrit don't have anything in common. Actually, they're completely different language families. Sanskrit would be so-called Indo-European language family. Actually, Sanskrit is much more related to European languages. It seems like in the past there was a language that was spoken from where Sanskrit and most of European languages come from, whereas Tibetan is part of a completely different language family. So even though the etymology doesn't have anything in common, they were separated by the biggest mountain range in the world. Still, the writing system, the way it's written, is very, very similar. So it's very easy. If you guys learn how to read Tibetan later, it's also very easy to learn how to read Sanskrit. The rules are not always the same, but the basic principles are the same. Okay, so that was our history section. Now, in terms of the dialect, there's many dialects in Tibet. Actually, Tibet it's a very big place, and especially it's not only is it big, but there's many valleys. It's very rough. The terrain is very difficult to travel, especially in the past. So valleys tended to remain very isolated from each other. And this, over time, led to the creation of different dialects. So there's many dialects in Tibet. The Tibet is mainly, roughly, we can divide it into three main parts. So we call Central Tibet, or Utsang in Tibetan. Then to the east is Kham, and to the north of Kham is Amdo. But so each one have their own like general dialect. It's very difficult to understand uh, Kham for a Central Tibetan, and also Amdo even more difficult to understand. Amdo is even more difficult to understand. So uh, we're going to the style that we're going to learn in this class is Central Tibetan dialect, which is the most popular. I guess you can say is the most scholastic in a way. So yeah, just so you guys know, this is it's called U. U is the word is for center in Tibet, so it's uke. K is the speaking, the speech. Uke, like it translated as central central Tibetan dialect, so-called Utsang also. So that's what we're going to be learning, focusing the pronunciation style. Yes.
Is that dialect currently in use, or is it like older?
Yeah, it's one currently in use. Actually, the generally in civilizations in general, if there is the countries like this, usually in the center where the of the country is where the language evolves faster. So, for example, if we were to talk to a Ladakhi or some sections of the Tibetan sphere of influence that are farther away from the center, they have kept some really old words. Oh, I should have mentioned this also. Thank you for reminding me. So, because we are learning classical Tibetan, the grammar of classical Tibetan actually has stayed the same for since the language was invented almost. So like over 1,000 years. What I meant to say when we're learning that is we're using their style of pronunciation. Okay. Because there's the Kampas will pronounce it slightly different, even though it's written the same. So all the scholars nowadays, for example, I'm in Nepal right now, and there's many monasteries here, and some of these monasteries have shedras, have these monastic universities. So in there, this is the main language that is spoken. So if we study at the shedra, basically what we're going to learn in this class is how to read the texts. I'm not gonna focus on colloquial Tibetan because it's completely different. It will be like a different class. But this is a good foundation for vocabulary for later on learning Tibetan. And also we want to learn how to read. So even if we want to learn colloquial Tibetan, in order to pronounce it properly, we have to learn how to read. So to answer your question, yes, is the most used. However, because Tibet doesn't have a country anymore, the way that it's spoken now, it's very much mixed with the local language. Like here, when I hear the monks speak, they throw a few Nepali words here and there. I heard in India it's a little bit mixed with Hindi. Then I talked to some people from Lhasa some time ago. This is a couple of years ago during the pandemic. So my Tibetan wasn't that good then. I mean, it's not that good yet still, but it was worse. And I couldn't really understand this lady so much because even her Tibetan was mixed with Chinese. Her that even the Tibetan the Chinese influence is so strong in Tibet now that the people coming from there also, the language is evolving there compared to what's happening uh, down in the Himalayas, in this side of the Himalayas, where the language is being kept mainly at the monastic centers. It seems like they're the ones who are really the protectors of the language now, because colloquially speaking, the language is getting lost generally. There's not a big concentrations of Tibetans anywhere, and they have to speak the local dialects anyways to survive, you know? Yeah. But for our sake, uh, basically a very, very small percentage of the texts in of the Tibetan literature have been translated. So this, if we can read this, is very enriching for for our understanding, especially for if we're interested in Buddhism, right?
Are there a lot of texts online in the original Tibetan? Like the
Yes, yes, lots. I can share some websites later on once we can read. For example, Sadra Foundation has a giant, massive library of texts. Yeah, there's lots of resources, and a lot of it is untranslated. Yeah.
I have a
Mhm.
sorry, I have a sort of naive question.
Yeah.
Uh, of course, people differ in their
Uh-huh.
abilities and in their effort to study, but roughly how much time is required for basic reading skills of
Mhm.
Dharma texts?
So,
It's indeed a difficult question, but for example, I've been studying Sanskrit and I see how different people are, but one can see that maybe 2, 3 years for basic knowledge and 10
mhm,
years for proficiency, something like this.
mhm. So Sanskrit is a lot more complicated than Tibetan in terms of grammar. Actually, the Sanskrit is a language of uh, very like complicated philosophies, and it's very ancient. Whereas Tibetan originally was a language that's used by mainly just shepherds and farmers. You can see in the text when we study in depth Tibetan grammar, we can see that the Tibetans are actually trying to make the grammar more complicated so that it can match Sanskrit.
Mhm.
They even there's the 8 grammar cases in Sanskrit. So the Tibetans try to apply this model to their own language. It doesn't really fit, but they're constantly like trying to elevate their language to the level of complexity of Sanskrit. I think Tibetan is much simpler. Before I also thought like, oh, should I learn Sanskrit or Tibetan? I was also thinking, but I decided to learn Tibetan because I feel like this is the tradition is still alive in Tibetan. There is still lamas who speak Tibetan, you know. I feel like Sanskrit was more scholarly, but I do want to learn a little bit of Sanskrit also now. I think it's a very beautiful language. But in terms of time, to answer your question, I want to invite you guys to put a lot of effort, especially these first 2 or 3 weeks, because it's very important that we get immediate recognition with the syllables, with the letters. So once we can get this immediate recognition, I'm gonna ask you guys to make flashcards or whatever you can, to memorize this. There's 30 symbols, 30 letters. Once if you guys have this immediate recognition, then everything will build up upon that. So once we have this immediate recognition, then the letters basically fit together. More letters will come together, and that forms a syllable. So in order to know, there are some rules as to how to pronounce them. So in order to be able to do that and read properly, we need to recognize the letter immediately. Because if we are, like, what was that? Especially if we're in a puja or in a teaching or chanting session or something, like we want to follow along with what's happening. After that, after one has that immediate recognition and what reads more and more, the meaning also comes slowly, and even the rules come. For me, for example, to be honest, I had to review the rules again to teach this class because I studied them a long time ago, like 5 years ago or something. And I realized I forgot them because now they become sort of intuitive. Like in English, when sometimes if you see a misspelled word, it's misspelled. Maybe you don't know exactly how, but it doesn't look right. So over reading text in Tibetan, one gets this intuition over it doesn't look right. But that's after reading a lot of text. I used to go to pujas and just read along with the puja just to practice my reading. To pujas are these ritual chanting things that happen here. Yes, does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you. It's encouraging.
Yeah. It's not that difficult, really. Just in these first few classes, sleep with your flashcards, do something. I remember I drew them on it's cool because it's like a grid. Actually, let me show you guys our book. I intentionally made it a little bit vague because I want us to pay attention to other notes. So it looks a little bit like the periodic table. The grid is actually, it's very important to memorize it in this grid format because when we learn the way that the letters connect and the pronunciation rules, if we memorized it in this way, then it's a lot more, we have to memorize less things, actually. It makes it a lot easier to memorize.
Yeah, the layout is similar to the Sanskrit in that respect.
Yes, actually. It's even easier. It's easier because the Sanskrit has an extra one here and an extra one here. Yeah. So it's simpler for sure. Okay, so another thing I wanted to emphasize is, for example, like we're all speaking in English now. We all can read English, I hope. And English is very inconsistent. For example, if you think about the alphabet in English, it's very, very weird. Like A, B, C, D. It should be phi, not F, right? If we follow the pattern of the sound, A, B, C, D, phi, G, H also should be he, right? Because the sound is ha, he. If we go along, then it doesn't really follow any logical pattern. Whereas here, it follows, or at least in the beginning, it follows a very logical pattern. So same like in Sanskrit. So we're going to start. I'm hoping that we can cover at least half of this today. So this is the Tibetan alphabet. These are all the symbols that we have to memorize. There's 30 of them. So I recommend when you guys are learning to draw the symbols. So I added this page on how to write them. The focus, I thought, since we are having an online class, the only reason that we will be writing them for the sake of this class is to memorize them. Because to be honest, I find myself typing Tibetan a lot more than writing anyways nowadays. So I added also this page to the newer version, which I sent the email. This is the dictionary. I think you can even click on it on the PDF file. So after we can learn how to type, we can also use the dictionary, and I want to teach you guys how you can become independent in your own Tibetan learning. I'm gonna give you all the steps, but even now I don't know all the words. So even sometimes occasionally I find an unknown word when I'm reading my prayers or I'm reading a text, so I look it up in the dictionary, and then I can make sense of it, because in the dictionary we have to type. So I also added this page now, but for now I'm gonna talk about the general layout of the alphabet, the Tibetan alphabet. So basically, there is the Sanskrit alphabet was developed thinking of our anatomy, the anatomy of our mouth. So the Tibetans carried that on in their layout of the alphabet. So as you can read here, these are the gluteral. It means that it's done with this back part of our mouth. So if we think of it in terms of rows, all these four sounds are made with the back of our mouth. So then this palatal goes up a little bit, so it's made with this part of the mouth. Then the dental is made up here, and the labials are made with the mouth. So basically it's going like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how these four lines, and this one also we can say it's a different kind of dental, so it goes back. You can say that. And then, so the pronunciation of this is ka. You guys can repeat. You don't have to turn on your microphones, but if you repeat after me, I think it will help also to get the sound. So this is ka. This is unaspirated, and this is aspirated. Ka, ka, ka. So basically, these in English we have these sounds. Actually, in English, usually we say, like, for example, I'm gonna cut my paper. That cut is usually aspirated. Usually, if you hear, for example, Indian people speak English, they usually say, I'm going to go to this place, or even Spanish speaking. In Spanish, actually, also, all the sounds are like this. They're unaspirated. So for English speakers, I think this one becomes more difficult, because these sounds exist in English. So I would say, for our sake, assuming we're all, actually, I'm not a native English speaker, but assuming we're all native English speakers, this sound, I imagine, will come easier. So we have to work on unaspirating. So again, this is called ka, ka. This is ga. So this is a low tone voice. It's a little bit like ga, and there's a little bit of air also. Ga. So all the sounds are coming from the back here. from the back of our throat. Ka, ka, ga. And this last one can be a little bit tricky, I guess. It's nga, nga. So it's not a G, it's not an N. It has uh, and you can do, a way to do it is you can press down on your tongue. Nga, nga, nga. The tongue shouldn't move. If your tongue is touching the palate, then it's not the right pronunciation. Okay, so now I want to hear some kakakangas. Okay, we're gonna go around everybody just for fun, okay? Don't be intimidated. This is just for the sake of us making sure. I want to make sure that we have a little bit of a basic sound. So maybe you want to get started, Kip?
Yes. Okay. So the
You
first
can go through the
row,
four. Yeah.
ka,
Mhm.
uh, ga.
Yeah. So a trick to get this last one, you can say, for example, you can say, ring a bell, right? Ring a bell. I'm going to ring
Ring a
a
bell.
bell, ring a bell, ring a bell. You can just say ring a bell, ring a bell.
Ring a
You
bell.
can
Ring a bell.
drop the R, ing a bell, ing a bell,
Ring a,
ing a bell, ing a
ring a
bell,
bell.
ing a bell, and then you drop the E, ng a bell, nga, nga,
Nga,
nga.
nga,
Yeah, that's closer. Yeah.
nga.
You can practice also pushing down your tongue. Nga, nga,
Well,
nga,
well,
nga.
well.
It's like something on the back of the throat is closing. Nga, nga, nga.
Okay.
So make sure we practice this because this is an important. Actually, nga means I in Tibetan. So it's quite an important word if we're saying like I'm going somewhere. You have to say this nga. You wanna try one round, Chris?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I gotta switch to the document.
Oh yeah. I can
Ka,
I can pull it. Oh yeah, go ahead.
ka, ka, ga, na.
Yeah, that's good. Ka, ka, ka. These are high pitched also. Ka, ka. And then the third one is low, is ga.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So, could you do the high pitched real quick?
Yeah, yeah. Ka, ka.
Ka,
So
ka,
unaspirated. Ka,
ka, ka, g- ga, or
ga,
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 ga. It's like a little bit
ga,
sexy sound,
ga,
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 ga, nga.
ga,
And this
nga,
nga is also like lower pitch also.
nga,
Nga.
nga.
So that's good. But I hear, if try to unaspirate more the first one, like I was saying, because this sounds, it should feel unnatural because we don't have these sounds in English. So for example, can you say the first one again? Just
Ka,
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 and say the second one,
ka,
ka. Yeah,
ka,
I would say in this case, I guess for most of us here, I would say first the second one,
ka,
ka, and then the first
ka,
one, ka,
ka,
like ka, ka,
ka, ka,
ka, ka,
ga, nga.
nga. Good. So good. We'll go around. Federico, you want to give it a shot?
Yes, I will then start with the second as you suggested.
Mm-hmm.
Ka, ka, ga, nga.
Yeah. Good. Good. Very good. That's good. So ka, unaspirated ka, ka,
Ka,
nga.
ya,
Ah,
nga.
good. You want to give it a shot, James?
Yes. Ka, 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 na.
Did you start with the second one?
I tried.
Yeah, that's good.
Uh,
Actually, no, I heard the difference. Actually, it's good.
Yeah. So ka, ka, na.
Yeah. Work on that last one also. Try this ring a bell trick.
Na,
Yeah. No,
na.
no, no. The tongue is
Yeah.
down the whole time. Yeah. No,
Na,
no,
na.
no. Yeah. This actually we have to. It's like going to learning a new, like learning how to play guitar or learning some kind of new motor skill because our tongue is not used to doing this, so it will take a little bit of time. Of course, I'm not expecting you guys to just get it right away. Somehow, like, we have to develop this motor skill inside our mouth. Okay, very good. You want to give it one shot, Sant?
Ka, ka, ga, nga.
Oh, good. Very good. Sounds like you already did this before. Okay, very good. Otis?
So ka, ka, ga,
Mhm.
na.
No. Yeah, that's good. So these ka, kha, ga, nga. I'm exaggerating, of course. The difference if you hear a Tibetan speak, the difference is a lot more subtle. So I'm purposefully exaggerating they will not, for example, ga is like gawa is where gapa. They will not say gawa, gawa do you.
Yeah.
They will not say like that, but when they're speaking, it would be like more like the oh God do you. It's like it's a little bit faster, but for the sake of our memorizing, I'm exaggerating a little bit, just so you guys know, but this will help us also memorizing. Okay, I'll share the screen again. So we have ka, 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 nga. So these are low tones, these are high tones. Next is we go up to cha, 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 nya. This nya is, we write it like this, or in English we try to write it like this, but it's like mañana. If you guys speak Spanish, it's like the nya from mañana, nya, nya. So this word ja means tea in Tibetan. Oh, by the way, this ka means mouth also. So also here we can learn a few words. Nga means eye, ka means mouth, ja means tea. This nya means fish also. Just so you guys know, there's a few words here already. So this is cha, cha, ja, nya. You guys can repeat just on your own for now, just to get the sounds. Ka, 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 nga. Cha, cha, ja, nya. The next one, so the sounds are coming from here. Now from here, and then they come to the dentals. So ta, 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 na. So we can see the pattern here. That's why this column goes there. That's why it's divided into columns, because the tone is the same. So these are all high pitched and aspirated, high pitch aspirated. These are all low, and these are all nasals and low. So these all have a particular relationship. So this is again ta, ta, da, na. So da means now, and na means sick, or it can also mean if in Tibetan.
Can I jump in with a question going back on the
Sure.
second line?
Sure.
What I was hearing was a T, not a C.
Mhm.
So is that so that second line, those are tas, not kas?
So actually, it's actually a CH. A CH. The thing also is that, for example, there is a little bit of a fine line. Some people like this line is sa, cha, za, za. For example, badra. They use this to write it from the Sanskrit. So in the Sanskrit, that for you Sanskrit, who know Sanskrit, this second line in Sanskrit, cha 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 na cha. This cha, the Tibetans decided to represent it with this, not with this one, which is kind of interesting. For example, maybe you guys have noticed word chitta, which means mind in Sanskrit. Chitta. Usually they use this letter in the text, in the mantras. Like there is this waka chitta siddhi, body, speech, and mind. Waka chitta siddhi home. They use this chitta. So there is a slight. I agree with you, Kip. There is a slight T sound, but usually when we represent it, this says ka here, but actually the reason this says CA is because this is aspirated, so we need an H here. So just to make it easier for typing, but the sound is should be more like a cha, 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 a little bit like cha. Maybe it sounds like a little bit like TS too, but this is the difference between these two is that there is this little flag here. If you see, it's basically the same shape, but we add this flag and it's the cha. This is cha, 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 cha. Does that help?
It does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me know if you guys have any questions, please. Okay, I'll go through.
I do
Yeah.
have one quick question. Are you familiar with the IPA at all? The International Phonetic Alphabet?
No, I'm not actually.
Okay.
What is it?
It's basically an alphabetic representation of all the sounds in the world, and they kind of have different symbols for different. One symbol for one sound, and they indicate there's a method to indicate high, low, and all that stuff. But I just didn't know if you knew how to do that.
It's interesting. I'm gonna look it up actually. I just made a note. Thank you for sharing. I'll take a look.
Okay, I'll send you a book or two.
Cool, thank you. So, okay, now another trick. This is a trick actually to memorize faster. We're going to read them vertically, because then the emphasis of the sound really comes out like this. So this is going to be kachatapatsa, 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 and then kachatapatsa. Okay. And then this doesn't sound so cool like the other ones. Nga, nya, na, ma. But these three columns basically are, if we memorize these kachatapatsa, it's really easy to memorize the sounds, you know. Okay, so let me let's go around once, and let's do this time. Let's do these three columns, and we'll do kachatapatsa. So I'll do it once more. Try to emphasize the difference in the pronunciation. Kachatapatsa, kachatapatsa, kachatapatsa. This bha means cow, by the way. Okay. Can I start with Otis this time? Otis, am I pronouncing it correctly? Please let me know if I'm
Yeah,
pronouncing your names. Otis.
So go vertically.
Yeah, let's do this one.
Ka, ka, ta, pa, ta.
Ka, cha, ta, pa, sa.
Say it again.
Ka, cha, ta, pa, sa.
Ka, cha, ta, pa, sa.
Yeah, very good. Second.
Ka, cha, ta, pa, sa.
You can add a little bit more air, I think, on the second, like ka, cha, ta, pa, sa. It's like ka. It's called aspirated because we're like you're throwing more air than needed. You know, ka, cha, ta, pa, sa. You wanna
Ka,
try one?
ta, pa, cha.
Sa, sa. This. So these sounds we don't have in English. Another trick for this one, you can say, if somebody has a baby, you can say, it's a boy. Oh, it's a boy. 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 Ta. Is that ta?
Ta.
Actually, we do have these sounds in English, but we just don't have them in the beginning of any words, you know. That's the problem. Like they come naturally when they're like, it's a boy. We're saying it there, but or like this one also I was saying, ring a bell, ring a bell. We have these sounds there, but they're not in the beginning of the word. That's why it's a little bit difficult, but we already have that sound. We have those sounds available, you know, you just have to fish them out. And let's do the third one, Otis.
Ga, cha, ga, ga, da, da, da.
I would emphasize a little bit more like ga, cha, ta, ba. So it's a little bit like ga, cha, ta, ba, za.
Ga, ga, da, da, ba, za.
Yeah, very good, very good. So it's important that we make this low because later this we have to add some things and then it will change them to high pitch. So if we're not doing them low as they are, later we won't be able to change them, you know. And then let's use these four also just for fun. Nga,
Na,
nya,
na,
na, ma.
ah.
Go 1 second here.
Na, na, ya, na, ma.
Nya, na, ma. Yeah, that's good. So these are also low. Okay, we'll keep rolling, okay? Chris, you wanna give it a shot? Let's see the
Ka,
first one.
cha, ta, pa, sa. Ga, cha, ta, pa, sa. Ga, ja, da, ba, za. Nga, nya, na, ma.
This last one, because the way you're pronouncing them, it sounds like the next thing that we're going to learn when we add head letters, this has to change they get changed to high pitch, you know? Nga, nya. So it's a little bit, try to make this a little bit lower, like nga, nya,
Nya, na,
na,
ma,
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 yeah,
ma.
exactly, ma. Because later we'll have to make them high. If you make them high now, then we won't be able to make them higher later.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but it's good. In general, it's good. You want to give it one shot, Zan?
Ka, cha, ta, pa, za. Ka,
And
cha,
this one.
ta, pa, za.
Mhm.
Ga, ja, da, wa, za.
Mhm.
Nga, nya, na, ma.
Yeah, good. Can you do these two again? First,
Ka, ka,
ka,
ka,
ka, yeah,
ka. Hmm.
ka, ka versus
Ka,
ka.
ka, ka,
So do this row once.
ka,
This one
cha, ta, pa, za.
and this one.
Ka, 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 ka. Ja, ta, pa, za.
This one I think it sounds good, but this one I think
Yeah.
you can do a little bit less air. You know,
Ga, cha, ta, pa, za.
yeah, like I'm doing ka cha ta
Ga,
pa
cha,
cha.
ta, pa, za. Ga, cha, ta, pa, za.
Yeah,
Ga, cha, ta, pa, za.
yeah. So I'm going ka cha ta pa cha, ka cha
Ga,
ta pa cha.
ga, cha, ta, pa, za. Ga, ga, ka, cha, ta, pa, za.
Yeah, and
Ga,
this one
cha,
also.
da, wa, za.
Yeah,
Nya, nga, nya, na, ma.
yeah. So these usually
Wa,
I think Zan has some
da,
experience
da,
with
wa.
Tibetan because usually the Tibetans pronounce this wa. If
Wa.
it becomes at the second part of the syllable, we pronounce it wa. But usually if it's first, we say ba ba.
Got used to wa.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Many Tibetans actually also because actually most of the time it's pronounced wa, you know. But if it's in the first
The first word, yeah.
syllable of the word,
Ja,
yeah, we say
ba, wa,
ba
za, yeah.
ba. But it's good. Yeah, very good. Okay. Keep. You wanna give it one shot?
Yes. Okay. So pa cha ta pa sa
Sa.
sa
Sa. TSA.
sa
Sa.
sa
Sa.
ka cha ta pa sa
This one.
ka cha ta pa sa
Sa. It's a
sa
boy. Sa.
sa sa
Sa. Yeah. Work on
sa.
this one on your free time. Practice the it's a boy trick and then drop the
It's a
first letter. It's a boy.
it's a
Or it's a
okay.
girl. It's a girl. It's a girl too. It's okay. Next
Okay.
one.
Ga ja da ba za.
This one a little bit longer and more like a ga cha. It's almost like you're tired. Like ga cha ta ba za.
Ga ja da ba za.
Yeah, yeah, nice. And this one.
Uh, yeah, I'll struggle with this. Yeah, what did you say? Yeah, tongue down. Nya, nya, nama.
Yeah. So this is also low. Don't forget about the pitch also. Nga, nya, na, ma.
Ya, na, ma.
Yeah, a little bit longer to don't forget when you're focusing on the how to make it in your mouth, don't forget also keep in mind this and keep in mind the tone for now because later this is very important. Later we will have to change this to different pitches to pronounce, okay?
Okay.
And then this one also try to make it a little bit less air here. Like I said, this is normal for because these sounds don't exist in English, you know. For most of us, I'm also hearing this. So ka, it's more like the sound is in the front of the mouth. Ka, even like my native language is Spanish, and I also feel like when we're speaking Spanish, the sound is somehow more like on the front. Like if I'm speaking Spanish, I will speak like this. Whereas English, it seems like it's more somehow on the back of the mouth, like, oh, I am doing fine. Oh, I don't know. I have this feeling, you know, and this I also feel that here, you know. It's like this is somehow is on the front, you know. Ka cha ta pa cha ka cha ta pa cha. There's like a lot more air. But for the sake of this exercise for practice sake, I would say This one, it's all you guys are doing this one mostly. So try to somehow pretend you have an Indian accent or play around with conceptually, you know, play with it. Record yourself and listen to yourself. Okay, we'll do Federico. Shall we do one round?
Yes. Ka cha da pa sa ka cha ta pa sa ga ja da ba za na nya na ma.
Wow, very good. That's very good. Yeah, very good. Have you done this before, by the way?
No.
No?
I'm
Wow,
trying
that's
to
good.
use as much as I can from the Sanskrit, but there are nuances.
Oh, it's from your Sanskrit.
differences,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's why. That's why, yeah. Actually, the other difference in Sanskrit is that Sanskrit has long and short syllables.
Yeah,
So
but even tone.
yeah, even tone. In Tibetan, they don't have that distinction, but sometimes later on we will learn this also. There's a when we, especially if we're reading text, sometimes there is Sanskrit words written with Tibetan letters. So there is a way to write the Sanskrit with this Tibetan, but in normal Tibetan, there is no sense of long and short, you know, because here also in Nepal, Nepali language is also based on Sanskrit,
Mhm.
the same way that Italian is based out of Latin, basically. So they follow these rules also. And, yeah, they have this long and short. Tibetan only, we don't have to worry about that, fortunately.
Oh, but by the way,
Uh-huh.
this brings me to the following question. I've noticed a difference in length between when you pronounce between the first two columns and the second two columns. Is there indeed a difference in the length or not really? As
Yeah, I'm emphasizing the, for example, if we go to a puja, we're doing prayers, generally everything is da 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 da, right? Because we're singing, we're chanting, but I'm emphasizing, usually in normal speech, there wouldn't be such a difference.
Okay.
I'm emphasizing it because just for the sake of us getting the tones, you know. And also just because this second column is aspirated, feel like I have to make it longer. Ka versus ka, ka. There is less air coming out, so I feel like naturally it becomes a little bit shorter. Ka, 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 nga. Cha, 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 nya. Ta, 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 na. Pa, 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 ma. Ca, ca, za. Only until here we will do this class, okay? Because then here the rules kind of go off a little bit. So I want to encourage you guys to go on YouTube and look up a native speaker. Because I mean, obviously my pronunciation is all right. People understand me, but if you can hear a native speaker, it's also more subtle. I'm exaggerating them for our sake.
I do have two quick questions though.
Yes.
One, are those the standard transliterations from the Tibetan into the English?
Actually, to be honest, I found this chart online. The transliteration would be down here for typing Wiley, actually, for the sake of typing. This is how you would type it. But the thing is that there's not, some people transliterate it a little bit differently every time, you know.
Okay.
There's not, I don't think there's quite a standard. People sometimes add these lines. I see this. Yeah, I don't think there's a standard, you know.
And the second question is, how do you write it? Like, do you use a regular pen, or do you use a traditional calligraphy pen or reed pen? And
Yeah,
I read
just
something about having the right angle for it. And
yeah, if you're using the traditional pen because there's the shape. I mean, this is a very deep topic, you know. I'm not even going to teach you guys how to write. I just give you this page to tell you just write it, you know. But I'll just teach you how to type it. But basically, I mean, I would write like this. I don't know if you guys can see. For example,
Okay.
it's just a normal pen.
Okay.
And
Because
so
I just remember reading that you had to use some kind of pen at a strange angle, and that's kind of why I was wondering.
that's because the calligraphers have these usually it has to have a particular shape and like a length, but this is more like going to the artistic side of things, you know.
Okay.
For now,
So just
we'll keep it.
get the stroke order correct, right?
Yeah, the stroke order. Yeah, here's the stroke order. So I recommend, for the sake of memorizing, I do recommend you guys write them, make your own cards, then compare, like look at what you wrote and look, oh, does it look like this? Then check, and then yeah, just like that, just for memorizing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I just wanna go through James once before we finish our class today. Okay,
Oh, I was
James,
kind of hoping you forgot me.
we're ready for you.
Okay. Okay. Ka, ta, ta, pa, ta, ka, cha, cha, pa, sa, ga, ja, da, ma, za, na, 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 ma.
Mhm. So I would I hear a lot I hear this one very well. Natural, like that's I feel like that's of course, like I was saying, that's our natural sound.
Naturally aspirated high.
Yeah, the natural aspirated that we speak in English usually. So I would record yourself, and this is also good for, I recommend this to everybody. Just record yourself on your phone. Record yourselves on your phone and listen to yourselves, because then you can notice it's difficult to listen to our own voice sometimes when we're speaking, you know. So also I recommend checking out there's many videos online where native speakers are reciting the alphabet. You can just type Tibetan alphabet sound or something on YouTube and you can get it. And also please memorize these symbols. Okay, work really hard just memorizing these whatever many, I don't know how many we've done, but we're already more than halfway through the alphabet, you know. Actually, my goal is that next class we'll also finish the alphabet, and then we'll might be able to start with some of the first rules of conjugation, conjoining the letters. Yep. So I'm going to
Is the
yeah, go ahead.
conjoining is the conjoining of letters similar to the Sanskrit? 'Cause that's kind of what killed me.
Mm, no, actually, it's a lot easier. It's different because in Tibetan, I guess I'll share real quick since you're asking. So in Tibetan, each syllable is separated by this point called tsek. Actually, I'm sorry for this, but there should be a tsek next to each one of these, you know. I don't know why I found this online, you know, I stole it from Google. But there should always be a tsek here, because that's what divides this point right here and this point right here. So this is one syllable and this is one syllable. So in Tibetan Sanskrit is called lekjar ke. K is the language, lek is very good or well, jar is stuck. So it's like the language that is very well conjoined, you know, because in Sanskrit there's this sandhi that you make fuse the words, you know. In Tibetan, fortunately, there's always these texts that tell you where the syllable ends.
So what you said is almost a literal translation of Sanskrit. So the original word is not Sanskrit with and, but Sanskrit. It's well put together. Sam is sort
Oh,
of
really?
put together. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
the etymology actually.
Yeah.
Good to know. yeah, well put together. That the Tibetans, actually the Tibetans translated all these things from Sanskrit, so I didn't know that. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. In Tibetan is lek jorke. Lek is good. Jor is like naljor, like yogi. Jor to join. Ke is the speech. Lek jorke. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to say our just one short dedication prayer for our session. Let me find the text. And then after that, I mean, the class will be over, but you guys are most welcome to, if you have any questions, I'm gonna stay also. Let me just share the screen. I'll just steal in one prayer from the brother prayer book. Om Sunam Deyi Tamje Sikpani Tomne Nyepe Drana Pamje Jin Chegana Jibalo Tupa Yi Sipe Tsole Dowa Dolwa Sho. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.